In the previous episode, Alicia was trapped in a bunker. To escape, Will suggested trying to leave through the sewer. They also prepared to take the zombies that Vasquez had become with them, because Will believed that once outside, the zombies could lead them to Padre. They smeared their bodies with the blood of the zombies to prevent Vasquez from attacking them. They first put Vasquez into the sewer, followed by Lisa. The sewer was not particularly narrow, just enough to accommodate one person. The zombies crawled faster than they expected. To prevent getting lost, Will also hurriedly entered the sewer. The tireless zombies crawled quickly, with Alicia following closely behind. But at that moment, the entire bunker began to shake. Before they understood what was happening, the tunnel collapsed. After an unknown amount of time, Will brushed the stones in front of his eyes and shouted loudly for Alicia, his path now blocked by debris. Minutes later, Alicia also slowly came to, her head a bit dizzy. When she came to her senses, she heard Vasquez's hissing, and there was also debris in front of her. The zombie Vasquez continued to crawl forward. Alicia called out softly to Will, afraid of attracting Vasquez. Seeing no response and Vasquez moving further away, she then called out loudly for Will. Will heard Alicia's call and responded, giving both of them a sigh of relief. Alicia turned to see the zombies attracted by their shouting. She turned on the flashlight, and seeing Vasquez had crawled closer, Alicia hurriedly tried to block it with stones. As the zombies approached, Alicia moved the stones more frantically. Will also comforted Alicia to hold on. Seeing the height, Alicia thought it should be enough to block the zombies and exhaled a long breath. Alicia had just told Will she was safe when Vasquez pushed over the stone wall and crawled toward her. Alicia grabbed a stone and smashed it towards the zombie's head but was still bitten on the arm. At this moment, Will only heard Alicia's heart-wrenching scream. Becoming even more anxious, Alicia quickly kicked the zombie to the other side of the wall. And fortunately, the stones above began to collapse and blocked the gap. Alicia couldn't believe the wound on her arm. Will urged Alicia to hold on. At that moment, Alicia was in despair, feeling as if everything had come to an end. She guessed that nuclear bombs had exploded on the surface, and she had failed to stop Teddy or save anyone. But Will kept persuading her to be strong. Perhaps he didn't understand the consequences of being bitten by a zombie. Will said, although you couldn't save your friends, there are still so many people in the bunker. You don't have to rebuild the world according to Teddy's vision. You can do it your way. Now, these people see you as their leader. You must survive. Hearing Will's words, Alicia seemed to make a decision. She told Will, before I act, you must promise not to let me mutate and harm these innocent people. If I develop a fever, that means I'm about to turn. You must kill me first. Will could only promise to do so for now. Alicia took a deep breath and picked up her weapon. Since her weapon wasn't a knife, the pain Alicia endured was unimaginable. After the amputation, Alicia fell into a deep unconsciousness. When Alicia woke up again, her face was flushed, and her amputated arm had been treated and was being injected with anesthetic. She calls out Will's name softly, and Will wakes up. Thankfully, Alicia had finally woken up. Alicia asked what had happened, and Will confirmed her guess about the nuclear explosion. Alicia's heart sank, not daring to imagine what had happened to Morgan and the others. Seeing Will's hesitation, Alicia felt he might know something. Will revealed that before the bomb exploded, Arnold heard from Teddy's followers that her friends tried to stop the madman Teddy, but Victor interfered at the crucial moment and prevented them from stopping it in time. This is why Alicia later refuses to go to the building to look for Victor. Alicia learned from Will that she had been unconscious for a week. After the amputation, Will had found her and returned to the bunker. Arnold and others treated her, and she had developed a high fever, but it had now subsided. Hearing this, Alicia became emotional. She had asked Will to promise that if she developed a fever, he would kill her, as she might turn into a zombie and endanger everyone in the bunker. Alicia wasn't blaming Will but felt responsible for the people there. She had failed to save those above ground and couldn't let those below face danger.
No, Will, you can't.
It was these words that led Will to leave the bunker. He had fallen in love with Alicia and knew finding Padre was the real way to help her. This led to the story of the first episode, where he met Victor. When they returned to the bunker, Alicia and everyone else had disappeared, leaving only a letter with Padre written on it. Will's fate was to be thrown off the building by Victor. Alicia never heard from Will again. She hears about the famous dark horses, so she asked them to help find the lost Vasquez, not realizing that the dark horses were actually Dwight and his wife. Later, they found Morgan. Alicia believed Morgan would unconditionally help her find Padre, though always skeptical. Morgan considered it helping an old friend. During the journey, he noticed that Alicia was in particularly bad shape and sweating profusely. Alicia explains, "I haven't eaten for a week. I haven't slept for 2 weeks. And it's 38 degrees right now, so that's why I'm like this." At that moment, gunfire erupted. Victor's men had found them and were shooting wildly. Morgan told Alicia to reveal her identity, believing Victor would stop firing if he knew it was her. Alicia expressed her reluctance to see Victor. Morgan shouted that the people they were pursuing were not the attackers of the building, but the group retorted, "We're not here for the building attackers but for you, Mr. Jones," and fired more shots. Morgan quickly mentioned his wife's agreement with Victor. The men scornfully replied, "If you dare try to kill our boss, don't expect to live." It made sense. How could a man like Victor tolerate someone who tried to kill him living? Meanwhile, zombies, including Vasquez, were drawn by the gunfire. Alicia realized the danger. She didn't want Vasquez to be shot dead, as that was their hope for finding Padre. Morgan desperately tried to stop Alicia, claiming they could find Padre another way. He didn't want to lose her. Alicia noticed Vasquez's arm was broken. She told Morgan to move aside and charged forward, tackling Vasquez into a ditch. With no choice, Morgan followed. They dragged the zombie and fled, finally reaching a cliff. With the sound of hooves and gunfire closing in, they had nowhere to go. The cavalry had caught up. Alicia threw Vasquez down into the flowing water below. Victor, having received a message from Morgan, arrived in person. Surprised to see Alicia, he immediately apologized, saying he didn't know she was with Morgan. Alicia said nothing and jumped off the cliff into the water. Morgan looked at the water and then at Victor. Victor said, "I guess my instincts were right. You did find Alicia." Morgan confirmed, "You guessed right. Alicia indeed doesn't want to see you." And then he too jumped. Victor, fearful of hurting Alicia, didn't shoot at the water, but sent his men downstream to continue the trail. Morgan and Alicia quickly made it to the shore. Vasquez was tied up and tossed aside. Morgan, puzzled, asked Alicia if she knew what she was doing, emphasizing that he came to help everyone find a safe place, not to engage in activities like this. Alicia, becoming agitated, retorted that if he really wanted to help, then he should help her find Padre so everyone could go to a safe place. This led to an argument between them. Morgan doubted the existence of Padre, while Alicia firmly believed the zombie could lead her to it. Morgan, losing his temper, said he only saw her risking her life to save a zombie that was already dead. Alicia, somewhat embarrassed because believing in zombies was indeed far-fetched, stuttered that they weren't completely dead and might still retain some memories. Their argument over the zombie intensified. Morgan said he once had thoughts like Alicia's, which ultimately led to the death of his son. After saying that, Morgan was about to pick up an axe to kill the zombies. He didn't understand Alicia's desperate search for Padre and didn't want to see her risk her life for a zombie anymore. During their heated argument, Morgan angrily threw down his axe. Predictably, Victor's men seized the opportunity to capture them. The men were puzzled as to why they were arguing over a zombie but got no answer. Victor soon arrived. Morgan reminded him of their previous agreement. However, Victor shamelessly stated that the agreement was made in the building, and he wouldn't acknowledge it in this wilderness. Morgan was utterly disgusted with Victor. Victor noticed the zombie tied up and curiously wondered why it was restrained. He was about to kill it. Alicia, of course, didn't want this to happen and distracted Victor by engaging him in conversation. Victor took this chance to boast about his grand achievements in building the tower and even invited Alicia to join him. He professed that she was the only person in the world he could trust, but Alicia was not impressed. She told Victor she didn't need his tower or any charity. This infuriated Victor, and he immediately ordered his men to kill Morgan and then the zombie. Two men grabbed Morgan and were about to feed him to the zombie. Victor intended to leave Alicia with nothing, believing that once she was desperate, she would come to his tower. At that moment, Alicia rushed forward, knocking Morgan out of the way, and the zombie bit her left arm. Victor, shocked, quickly ordered his men to back off. Morgan was stunned. Watching Alicia, Victor apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't want it to be like this. I never intended to hurt you." Alicia just loudly rebuked Victor, telling him to get lost. Knowing he was at fault, Victor left with his men. By evening, Alicia sat by the fire, her face covered in sweat. "Let me see your wound," Morgan asked for what felt like the umpteenth time. He knew almost no one survived a zombie bite, but he still wanted to help Alicia treat her wound. This time, Alicia finally responded. She looked at Morgan, extended her left hand, and unzipped the covering. The hand inside was in such a state. Morgan couldn't imagine what Alicia had been through and how it had come to this. Alicia whispered, "I told you, I'm fine." Tears welled up in Morgan's eyes as he felt a deep sympathy for Alicia, perhaps from a friend's perspective, or maybe as an older brother. He sensed the girl had endured too much alone. Morgan pointed at Alicia's prosthetic limb. Alicia understood his meaning and immediately explained, "This is made from my own bones." Morgan gave a bitter smile, guessing Alicia's hand was possibly a result of tracking the zombie. Alicia didn't respond but instead walked over to another zombie, preparing to smear more zombie blood. She wouldn't give up looking for Padre. Minutes later, they set off again. Morgan, looking at this woman who had silently endured so much, decided to accompany her to the end, fulfilling one of Alicia's wishes. After an unknown duration, when Alicia reached the top of the hill and looked into the distance, she surprisingly smiled. "We found it," she said. Morgan looked where she pointed, seeing a light shining in the darkness, igniting hope in Alicia's heart. But Morgan knew that wasn't Padre, it was clearly Victor's building. After hesitating, he told Alicia the truth. Alicia's expression darkened. Minutes later, Vasquez had blended into the horde of zombies, becoming untraceable. They approached the building, and after such a long search, it turned out to be in vain. Finding Vasquez again was nearly impossible. Morgan suggested, "Let's go back to the submarine," but Alicia refused, saying it would endanger everyone. Morgan didn't understand why she said that. Alicia didn't hide the truth any longer, revealing, "I didn't amputate immediately. I'm still infected. Every moment, my body is fighting it. When I sweat, it's the symptoms acting up. Sooner or later, I won't be able to resist." Morgan wanted to persuade Alicia not to give up, suggesting that Naomi could take a good look at her, but Alicia shook her head, indicating she had tried everything to no avail. "I can't go back to the submarine, nor can I help you rebuild a home. I don't know how much longer I have left. I thought I could find Padre for everyone before I died, but leading a large group is too dangerous, so I sought your help to find it." Morgan smiled and said, "We'll find another place. Don't be so pessimistic." He also understood why Alicia placed her trust in the zombie. Suddenly, a few zombies approached them from a distance. Morgan told Alicia to stay put while he dealt with the zombies, a process that took no more than 3 minutes. Victor arrived with his man, having spotted them earlier. Seeing Alicia sweating profusely, Victor apologized again, thinking it was his fault that Alicia got bitten. Alicia, not hiding anything, showed her arm but didn't explain further. Victor said, "The zombie you followed led you here. It's fate. You belong here. Bring your people." Alicia pondered and asked, "Will you take care of them, even if I'm not here?" Victor readily agreed, willing to do anything for Alicia, reluctantly accepting Victor's help due to her dire situation and the absence of Padre. Alicia heard a zombie's growl. It was a disfigured zombie on the ground, but Alicia felt she recognized it. Morgan was about to take care of it, but Alicia approached. She couldn't believe the zombie was Will, identifiable by the necklace around his neck. No wonder Will never returned. He ended up here. Although Alicia and Will didn't spend much time together, they had a strong affection for each other. Alicia emotionlessly gave Will his last rites. Noticing his injuries were from a severe fall, she confronted Victor. "Did you do this?" Victor, guilty, couldn't meet her gaze. Alicia continued, "Do you know where he's from? That he knew me? Why kill him?" Victor replied, "I did it to prevent you from getting hurt. I wanted to build the tower my way to keep you away."
Because he told me that he loved you!
Alicia was silent, shocked that Victor killed Will out of jealousy. Her determination rekindled. She turned to Morgan and asked, "How long can we last on the submarine?" Morgan estimated a week, 2 at most, with everyone aboard. Victor interjected, "I didn't want things to end up like this." Alicia angrily retorted, "It's too late."
I am taking the one thing that matters to you the most. I am taking that tower.
Faced with the choice between power and Alicia, Victor declared he would defend everything to the end if necessary.
Then we're going to war.